Hello, this is Eli Machen again, and I'd like to talk to you today about your cycle of addiction. This is a brief overview. I'm going to come at this thing at a number of different directions with you so that you understand how this all plays out. And we'll break it down over weeks, the analysis of it, and remind you of things that you heard in the workshop that you came to, or if you haven't been, kind of overview it a number of different ways so that you can understand how do I cycle through this over and over and over. This concept is not new to me. As a matter of fact, the graph is created by one of my colleagues, Ken Taylor, and a fellow that I admire and respect. We've worked together for years. He's now in Cambodia, as a matter of fact, as a missionary there, working with others in addictions. And so I want to give him reference here. I've had many people in my life that have contributed to how I'm bringing this to you, and I want to make that well known. Okay, one of the things to talk about here is that we've covered already, you'll have covered over with me, the family of origin and abuse. And so what I want to talk about here is that when we talk about this, where does this all begin? Well, it begins early. Now, not all of it is all about family. I mean, we can go through traumatic experiences, whether it's in school, whether it's in a church experience, when it's in a neighborhood, from people we don't even know, or people we played with all our lives, or cousins. It's not always a family that wounds us. I just want that real clear. Now, not only is that, but we could also be wounded later in life. So just to lay that out there, to make that real clear, is that this is not always, it can be about our culture. You know, we can go through traumatic experiences, a lot of trauma brought on because of race, religion, creed, color, whatever. And so I just point this out to you is that there's a lot of reasons for abuse and how it can happen to us. And from that, you know, there's a message. Whenever we go through traumatic experiences, especially earlier in life, then there's a message that usually comes along with it is that we embrace. And it's usually a message of shame. Now, that shame comes with a message that something is inherently wrong with me. I am a failure. I am dumb. I am stupid. I am not enough. I'm not wanted. I'm not desirable. The list can go on and on. Now, for me, I believe in this whole cycle. Now, this is a piece that I'm bringing to this thing, and as a matter of fact, you're going to help me prove this out as over the course of weeks and months ahead, as you click on those buttons at the bottom end of some of this stuff that I've given you in your daily inventory and your check-ins, is that we're creating and developing data that I believe is going to help you and generations to come defeat this whole enemy, and the enemy is shame. The enemy is not the addiction. The enemy is not the family. The enemy is shame. Because I believe that with this message of shame here, we go about trying to correct that message that something's really wrong with me. Then comes along, so there is this element of shame that we're into. Then there's this trigger from our environment that says, oh, and we begin to fantasize. Now, the trigger is not necessarily the need to drink, the need to drug, the need to sexually act out. That's where we first think of it. The key thing is that I believe it's something that says we're under stress, we're tired, we're fatigued, you know, we're in a pre-trigger state, and the shame message is coming at us that we're not enough. Now we're going to begin to figure out how do we correct this. Now, preoccupation, I'm going to talk about this in another video, but preoccupation is a mechanism of our soul that allows us to follow and pursue vision. Preoccupation is a fantasizing of what we could do as a dream or a vision. To pursue dreams and visions, there's no guarantees. In preoccupation and fantasy, it's about trying to correct the message that's up here from shame. So we have something going on in our life that's beginning to stress us out at work, in relationships, financially, whatever else is going on. It begins to bring up to the surface these messages, negative messages here out of shame. We begin to fantasize an option. We come up with a solution. The thing is, with this preoccupation is totally within our control, our sense, and our inner world. From this preoccupation, we begin to work out a procedure of how to get that fantasy fulfilled. Now, those are step by step. Sometimes they can last seconds. Sometimes it's minutes and hours. And sometimes it can be days and months. But eventually, you're going to have a process, each of us do have, and you have multiple processes, of going from here to then eventually acting out. Now, that acting out behavior could be through a substance or a behavior of any kind that creates within us this sense that we run into the bushes. We're avoiding, we're escaping, we're medicating whatever this is creating within us, the pain that we feel that comes back from this shame. Our solution is, if we could fulfill this through these steps and procedures, we would feel real different. This promises us that we will no longer be this person here. However, the problem is that when we do this, it comes with a payoff. It comes with a cost. And the cost is we end up right back where we were feeling earlier, in utter despair. Whatever behavior we did, whether it was getting drunk, whether it was drugging, whether it was sexually acting out, whether it was spending, whatever else it was, we end up back here at despair. Now, and then we cycle between guilt and shame, guilt and shame, guilt and shame. Yes, you did something wrong. And then the message is, once again, yes, you're something bad. You know, you're a bad and worthless person. Nobody's going to love you as you are. You know, you're not worthy. And so bottom line is, we go between, I did something wrong, I am something wrong. And around and around we go. And eventually we go back to, we either try to go back to fantasizing again and repeating the whole cycle, or we generally end up back here with shame and starting all over again. And that cycle for some of us can go on every 6 months, every 6 days, or every 6 minutes, 6 days, 60 minutes, whatever. I mean, this cycle varies between any of us over and over and over. This is the cycle of addiction. This is where we go around and around and around. And part of the process of what we're going to be doing over the weeks is showing you how to break this apart, break it down, and do something different with it. Because there's another cycle that I believe really can get us back out of this. And we'll cover that in the future. Thank you.